Alright, finally we're here. Okay, hello, this is Barlow. I'm just doing a match analysis of this set, Thantis vs. ARM at Frosty Fastings. Azrael Rachel's really interesting is part of why I wanted to do this one. So let's go ahead and take a look. So there's a tool that Azrael has in this matchup that is kind of different in terms of pacing, and that's Growler, since he can absorb all the abilities and projectiles. And a lot of this matchup is going to come down to how he responds when George is out on the field. Rachel doesn't have very good defensive options, so Azrael can kill her once she gets in, and it can certainly be stressful for her, although she probably still has a pretty hefty advantage in the neutral. Okay, so this right here, round start, let's take a look. Actually, can I turn up the quality? Yeah, I can. There we go. Yeah, so this air-to-air right here, and then followed by just getting counter-hit by a falling jump A. There was no IB or anything here from ARM. I guess he just was confident that there wasn't going to be any follow-up to that jump B. It's not super big, doesn't get any conversion off it. Yeah, and so now we already have the rods in play, right? Like, this is just going to slowly add to these blue threat zones. And obviously the belly's going to cover this as well. And you can already see Thantis is going for the Growler, just in case that a Lobelia actually goes to here instead of going down, which I guess is where it looks like it's going to be going right now. So down. Yeah, blocks this. Good awareness to block those. And then this sequence, good blocks for the most part. Gets caught low. I mean, well, it might have made more sense to do to have barrier usage here instead of just IB. I don't know. This isn't really that scary, just since she only has one win bar at the moment. Okay, drops it, but gets picked up. Yeah, this is just definitely just like a scramble situation response. If the opponent drops the combo, you don't really want to mash on the way down. There's situations obviously where that's different, but in this particular case, it's definitely a lot of damage. Now you gotta block the Rachel setup. Yeah, that was a nice Growler in response, just doesn't block the mix-up after. And ARM, like, literally can't finish his combos. Wow, really good Growler escape. Yeah, there you go. And this is kind of where the advantage happens. There was no... Kind of interesting that after this, there was no real attempt to chase. I don't know if he was expecting a roll forward or not, but there's not really much reason to not just kind of dash into her. I don't know. I mean, ARM does the safe play by backdashing. I guess maybe he wanted to see what she'd do and wake up, but this is really the first wake up scenario that Thantis has had, so there's not really any insight into what ARM's gonna do. Yeah, okay, again, playing around the grab, but yeah, there's George, and again, this is kind of the situation that we're talking about, is now George is out. Azrael, I don't really remember what he has that kills George. I want to say 2D, which is a little bit risky, but he can kill George with that, I'm pretty sure. So the obvious method of approach is up here, and this is really important, this aerial approach in response to seeing George, because this is going to determine the fate of the games later in the set, as I recall. So go ahead and put that down. Good blocks. Yeah, and this is where the fun begins. Love when both players are at kill percent. This is what, 5k? It sucks. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Lots of fireballs, but... Oh, this... yeah, I don't know about this burst. Yeah, I like this. Good response to the neutral. You notice that ARM is like... His first instinct when he gets bursted out is not to place projectiles on the screen. It's actually just to kind of hang out here and wait. I guess it makes sense because he was looking for the fireball now that Thantis has so many stocks of hit, but he does get hit by the falling Lobelia. Yeah, so that first round, like, I don't know, you can kind of see that it was sort of hard for Thantis to get anything started, but he took a lot of life once he actually got in. That might have gone differently if he didn't drop. This burst is a little bit sketchy, only because this is the round where he's going to have no burst advantage, so he wants to get active flow quickly here if he can. Yeah, getting caught low, I think. You notice something right here? Like, I don't remember, how do you frame advance? Oh, yeah, there we go. Or, well, I don't know if this is really true frame advance. So, I noticed something interesting just now. So, you frame advance enough, and you see that Rachel does... Where is it? Yeah, 5B right here. And then she delays the low. And you can kind of see Thantis stand up in response to seeing the 5B, so he's kind of just guessing here. And it's really important to note the timing of this low, because I think a lot of people against Rachel without realizing, and people do this against Valka as well, tend to just sort of fuzzy block in response to seeing the 5B. And so by delaying his 2B here, ARM is basically giving him the ability to check for a fuzzy jump and, you know, extend off this mix-up. Yeah, George is out. Growler, okay, again, the Growler usage here is definitely really good. And I like this dashes through, go through George. And this is really key information that ARM is not going to do cross-up OS or react. His first instinct is to jump, and then now he's cornered. Wake up OD. Yeah, I like this. Oh, man. Yeah, this situation's always tricky. I like the decision to mash here a lot. In fact, I think in CF2, it's good to just kind of disrespect their first overdrive. But there's definitely like a moment of hesitation here just to see what he did. And I like this idea for sure. One thing that maybe could have been done here is jumping. Just so that you can cover the EA while you're jumping forward if you think they're going to mash it out, not like right on wake up during a block string. I do this. I think a lot of high-level players kind of choose to do this, and yeah, I mean, you can get 6A by Rachel, but again, nothing's been shown there. So the idea here is really good, just maybe like a slightly different option could have been chosen. Yeah, and I like this. Okay, so now George is out in the field. So again, there's two options for Thantis. He can just try to run away entirely. He can try to engage George and hit him with something, excuse me, or he can air dash in. So let's see what he picks. Yeah, and I like this air-to-air jump B, but now he's got to think about George and just blocks. And I like this DP, actually. This situation's a little bit funky, just because he knows that George is going to come out here, and at least he doesn't get hit by it. But he does do a good DP, and I like this kind of air dash back. Unfortunately, doesn't get anything off this. This would have been really nice. Yeah, absorbs it. I like that air-to-air jump B. Here we go, counter hit. This is really... Oh, geez. There's been like 3 or so drops here that have really made it harder for him. Yeah, and again, right here, the stagger low. I think Thantis has been doing a good job blocking these overheads, and now he's just getting hit low a lot. Yeah, no Growler there. Good awareness and gets thrown. No confirm from ARM, geez. Yeah, and just confirm into Asteroid here to secure the kill. Yeah, so game 1, Thantis got a lot of really good hits, and then they were dropped. And as a result, I mean, you kind of lose. You don't really want to drop your opportunities on Azrael in this matchup just because it's on the more explosive end. That burst was definitely a little questionable, but not too bad otherwise from Thantis. And again, I think ARM at this point is going to start realizing that he's going to be jumping and doing a space to air jumpy a lot in response to George, so we'll see how that interaction plays out in the future. He gets hit overhead this time. I mean, this isn't that much damage, and actually he drops it. ARM, like, can't finish a combo. Neither of these players are actually finishing combos, which happens. First match of top 8. I feel like those are always a little sloppier. Nice frame trap there, geez. And yeah, took an ARM's burst, that's good. And now you gotta play around George, and I like this. He's really, really aware of the wind usage to get the space. And even though he's getting hit and like harassed here, ARM's not really getting a lot off it, and George runs out before he can fully back into the corner. But this situation, this is kind of the start of the thing that ends up winning ARM this set, in my opinion, is just an absurd usage of jump B and getting a convert off at any time, just because I think he's sort of tuned in to Thantis' desire to jump forward. Yeah, and then this setup, I don't know if you can... I think that looks like it caught the backdash recovery because George was meaty through the backdash. It got the N1 indicator, so... Yeah, I mean, versus that setup, you just kind of want a slight delay tech block. I think that's the easiest thing to do versus Rachel. Oh yeah, wow. A good awareness here to not challenge when he sees George, but he just kind of like got hit. I think he was just thinking he could have back. I like this backdash is in response to IB Gustav. Good reaction. Yeah, like this again. Really good awareness of George. Like actually, and then that scenario is just that just happens sometimes. Sometimes you cross under, you get crossed up randomly. Growler was a little mistimed. I think, like I don't know this. I think the Growlers have been pretty on point for the most part. This one, the only reason why I'm not sure about this one is, I don't know, I feel like safe movement could have worked here instead. I don't know, or like up back jump, I don't know, and just try to go in or like air dash or something. I think this first Growler was really good, and it was a very good call out. The second one seems a little on the greedy end. I don't know, I feel like that's a place where it might have made more sense to build, like, to take safe movement. And he had a lot of barriers, so he could afford to barrier block and not get chipped by Rachel for a while. He already had a projectile too, so he could have used that to try to win neutral after. Like this. Yeah, that was a good catch. Yes, finish a combo. Not quite. That happens. Sometimes you try to super jump a button and you get the quarter circle forward special. It's whack. Yeah, so this is what I really want to talk about. These jump Bs from ARM are very well placed, and they go to lots of damage, and they get a full conversion because it's Rachel. Good awareness for him to end the combo. And something I want to point out is that even though ARM is winning with these jump Bs, I don't necessarily think the decision for Thantis to be in the air is wrong. It's just that he's, like, Rachel's jump B is obviously much faster than Azrael's jump B, so it's entirely possible that, well, there's two options here. One, you can try to instant barrier block or just barrier block it so that she gets pushed away a little. The other option would be to try to jump A, which is, I think, faster than jump B. I don't know if it would necessarily reach in this scenario. But this counter hit jump B interaction is something you're going to be seeing a lot, right? Yeah. Yeah, this is nice. And this character is not dead, but she explodes. Nice stagger on the frame trap. Don't mash against Azrael, except when you need to mash versus Azrael. Yeah, this scenario, so this did work out for him. The decision to just kind of keep wailing the anti-air instead of trying to air here is a little bit odd. But it looks like ARM kind of flew himself into it, so it ended up working out. But in this scenario, it's like, for a character who's floaty and has a lot of jump options like Rachel, it's typically better to choose the air-to-air instead of the anti-air, even if the reward on the anti-air is a little bit higher. Yeah, and here we go, lots of fireballs. This neutral is significantly better. Yes. And again, kind of playing patiently around the OD. That's not really the bad choice. This, I mean, JB is not an overhead. This looked like a missed IB. I know it's hard to not want to whore the meter, but it's really important to, what's the word? Like, it's really important to not be too greedy on that with stuff that's just naturally hard to time. But I understand, because I do that a lot too. The only thing I'd like to see more on defense is I'd like to see more barrier usage in this matchup, just because when you push Rachel out, like, she has to commit hard to do her mix-ups. Yeah, misconversion just didn't confirm that it was aerial. Nice placement by 2A. This burst I think makes sense. Because this is gonna go into like a nice setup for Rachel. Oh. Yeah. You just gotta block on wake up. Throw a reset. ARM cannot convert off throw for some reason. This is like the second or third time that's happened. Great air throw. This drops, right? Oh no, it doesn't. I was thinking of something else. Yeah, I really like the decision too. Going back. This is a very important way to do corner pressure, right? Like, you can kind of just, instead of like going really hard and committing to something, I really like his decision to just kind of jump and block and wait here and see what happens. And ARM is very committed to barrier. And going throw into super, this is like the one way you can end the game without even giving ARM a chance to use his burst. So I really like that play a lot. I think the offense here actually looks pretty good. A lot of the stagger frame traps are hitting. More conversions happened in that game, so he did pretty well. Yeah, and so see, this is the thing I'm talking about is now there's more barrier usage, right? And that's good, because now look how much more she's pushed out. And then this right here is the key. When Rachel does 6B to go in like this, there is enough of a gap there where you can do something. Azrael might be able to 5A. I think a backdash would probably be more likely for this character. But if you have like for any other character, if you have like a head invuln or like a head guard point move, if you place that here in this gap after you instant barrier block the 6B and she tries to wind in, she's gonna die. But I don't think Thantis really knew that situation super well. But that is something you get to do with barrier, and I like this right here. She's gonna wait it out. And again, right here, just getting hit low a lot. Arm is like actually, to Arm's credit, he is definitely staggering those 2Bs super well. I think he's mixing up low and overhead enough where it's kind of hard to block. Just something to keep in mind though, is I feel like it's in this situation, if you pay attention to the win gauge, not every Rachel player does this, but a lot of Rachel players tend to lean towards going low when they only have 1 bar of win left. And the reason for that being that they have to spend a bar of win in order to do the instant overhead. So you can kind of expect the low more often in this scenario. And even if she does do the instant overhead, because she doesn't have wind, what she can do in terms of damage and setup is actually pretty limited. It's sort of the same logic as when you block Valkenhayn, where you can expect him to go low or throw way more often when he's low in wolf meter, because the reward for doing an overhead with no wolf meter is very low. So I mean, obviously Rachel's mix-up is not reactable, you do have to sort of guess there, but I think you can use the win gauge to make a fairly educated guess, if that makes sense. Yeah. So he gets caught low. I'm pretty sure these are like CF1 Rachel combos. I think these are like so these aren't really big damage, and Arm's not finishing a lot of them. And this same shit here. I don't know what this was supposed to be, but like, I don't know. I guess my observation, if I was playing this set, would be like that Arm doesn't really finish combos, so it's nice to just have a go-to plan for if a combo drops. I mean, I think a lot of people just tend to pick out barrier blocking because it's easiest. I know that Azrael's good at forcing scrambles, but it's a little harder against this character. Because yeah, there's a couple instances here where Thantis is getting hit for counter hitting. And I like this DPRC. Arm didn't 6A, he did 5B for some reason. He's plus. Yeah, and I like that commit with the dash there to chase, but he just is gonna get hit. Yeah. Surprised Arm didn't kill off that. Yeah, and again, right here, the Arm is so confident about the movement that he's placing jump B. Again, I don't really think that the decisions for these aerial movements are necessarily bad, but like, imagine if at this round start, you had just waited a few frames before Rachel went up. Then you could have whiff punished, or at least started some kind of pressure off her whiffing a jump B. So it's like the idea to challenge her in the air is not wrong at all. This is kind of where you can get into like the tempo of the match and just try to do things at different timings, or wait like just a second longer to see what they do. You'd be surprised the number of situations you can win, because I think really Arm is just very well keyed into Thantis' timing. And sometimes there's like the right decision in neutral is to do the thing that you were doing that wasn't working, except you have to change your timing. Because again, this is literally what happens here, and this is what really stuck out to me, is you have a little bit of time. I mean, I know there's a chance that like she'd pop the Storm Irises and then George would be close to you, but you have a little bit of time before you're forced to move. Arm just, I think, keyed very well into Thantis' timing for his approaches. Yeah, okay, and choosing not to burst here. I mean, this is really either way. Yeah, okay, like that. And then Arm right here. Arm, I think Arm is kind of just playing to reaction at this point. He has a pretty good feel for this match flow. I don't know what that was. That might have been an input error. Or maybe he just wanted to prefer to reset to neutral instead of trying to like challenge Thantis in offense. Yeah, and just gets caught up backing. A lot of these like weird air-to-air knockdowns, I can tell that like your instinct when you think it's a true meaty is to just jump or press something out. Like if you don't think it's gonna really be a hard knockdown call out. But I think, I don't know, like I think at the very least you could change this instinct to be a fuzzy jump, because then you're kind of covered in a lot more situations. Fuzzy jumps, unless they're doing like delayed meaty low, are generally pretty good for if you're not sure whether or not something will be a real knockdown, so that input is worth timing. Because there are a lot of these situations where there's like just awkward air-to-airs that drop, or like it's a new ender that you're not used to, and you don't really know whether or not she's going to be able to meaty you or not. I think it makes a little more sense to err on the side of something safer than to commit, even if you think it's gonna win you the situation. Like, it's really just cleanup in small things like this. Anyway, yeah, and then Arm wins. Yeah, this is like a pretty good set. I really think the thing I really want to stress is that I think like nothing about how this neutral was played from Thantis was particularly bad or even incorrect. The timings just needed to be adjusted. And I think just because Arm is like a much more seasoned tournament player, it's something he was able to key into a little more cleanly. Anyway, this has been Barlow. I don't know why I said has been Barlow. This is Barlow. I did a match analysis. Thank you for watching. Enjoy.